my name is Sohaib Akbar, and today I will take you on a journey that will discuss my place in Canadian history. This journey begins in a land far, far away, but fear not, I am not talking about Wonderland, but my homeland, India. My great grandfather worked there as a factory worker around 1935 and lived with my great grandmother and grandpa. In the 1930s, India was struck by the Great Depression. Poverty and hunger followed. Due to a lack of jobs, public facilities, and poverty, my great grandpa decided to immigrate to Canada together with my great grandma and my young grandpa. Their first choice was England, but the application was rejected. In Canada, the family settled in Hamilton, which at the time was a place of hay and cows. There, my great grandpa worked as a farmer in a small farm owned by a landlord. My grandpa was raised among Caucasians. At the time, very few Asians were immigrating to Canada because proper immigration policies were not established at the time, and Canada did not recognize the need to increase its manpower. Due to the same reason, brown people, just as any other immigrant race, were forbidden to vote and were devoid of many social and political rights. For example, browns were paid a very negligible salary and were looked down upon by the already settled inhabitants. Also, they were excluded from respectable professions such as teaching and engineering. In the January of 1942, Japanese troops conquered Burma. In response, the US, Canadian, and British forces moved into the country for a counterattack. Many Indian immigrants, including my great-grandpa, were forced to join the army and were sent to the front lines in Burma. There, my great-grandpa remained for 3 years until 1945. When he came back, he had lost all of his property and money, and my great-grandma and grandpa had been moved into refugee camps. Luckily, the boom period in the 1950s eased restrictions towards immigrant families, and my great-grandfather was paid a total of $15,000 for his service in the army. At the University of Toronto, my grandpa met my to-be grandma, whose family had also moved into Canada around the same time my great-grandpa did. The two grew closer and both families arranged for their marriage in 1963. In 1967, a point system was introduced and the last of racial discrimination was removed. They had 5 children, amongst them was my father, Sohaib, who was born in 1966. The siblings grew up together in a small home in Milton. My father went to York University in Toronto and met Umbreen, my mother, who at the time was studying philosophy. The two decided to marry in 1990 and moved to Mississauga after buying a residence there. Soon after, my sister and brother were born in 1992 and 1994 respectively. I was born on February 15, 1997. I am currently living in Mississauga with my parents and grandmother. I am aiming to become a surgeon one day, and I am working really hard in school to achieve this goal of mine. It has been more than 100 years since the time that Indian immigrants first set foot on Canadian soil and have come a long way to arrive where they stand right now. The hardships and discrimination they faced in the initial years didn't break them, and I, a proud Canadian citizen, am a living proof of that. Thank you.